Welcome to the Wealth Builders Podcast, the women entrepreneurs' home for building successful businesses that generate passive income. You have entered a judgment-free zone, so give yourself permission to shake off all the things you haven't done, because your journey to owning a thriving business you love starts right now.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Renee Williams here with my co-host Camille Davis, and we are welcoming Liz Brammer and Christina Wiggins. They are CLDesigns Houston. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. I'm so glad to have you here. Camille has said some wonderful things about you guys, about what you do, all of the great designs that you're helping her with. Can you tell us your story, how you guys got started?
Sure. Liz, do you want to start, or would you like me to start?
I'll start. So it started for me back in high school. I've always had an interest in designing homes. I had house design software that my dad got for me, and I helped him redesign a room in our house just because I love doing it. And I can spend hours doing it. Ultimately, when I went to college, I decided to go engineering. I was considering architecture, but went a different path. Flash forward to, I think it was like 2018, my husband and I were looking at renovating a house we were in. And we were interviewing contractors and trying to find out like the design services they provided. And we basically were looking for like the HGTV experience, where you have the 3D models and everything, so you can kind of visualize everything at once. And we really weren't finding it. So what I did was I got myself some home design software and I taught myself how to use it and came up with a design on my own. So that way we could, play around with things and, see things in, 3D and like, nope, we don't like that. We like that and so on. So we did that for one house, and then we ended up buying another house down the street. And we did the same thing. And from that's kind of where our project started. So I hired a kitchen designer for my house now, and she saw my drawing, she saw the model, and she is older, not really versed in computers, and was like, hey, can you help me out? I'm working on this small house and I would love for you to draw plans for me. So she kind of became my mentor and taught me kind of how to do it. And I learned along the way. I've never done this before, but it was a great experience. So I put together a whole house plan. It had elevations, a floor plan, it had an electrical plan, all this cool stuff. And then after that, when the package was done, it was sent to a builder for bid. And when he saw it, he was like, oh, wow, I love this package. Who did this? I need to call them and find out if they want to do a design for me. So he did. He reached out, and this one was basically a pen and paper sketch of what he wanted. There was no elevations, no dimensions on it. Basically, like, we want a kitchen, we want a living room, we want like 4 bedrooms. So I had to come up with everything, like the elevations, the design. So I pulled Christina in to kind of help me kind of fine tune all of, the cabinet elevations, how the outside was going to look, all of that. So that project was kind of one of our biggest ones, and we're super proud of it. And alongside that, we had friends who were looking to remodel their house and had no idea what to do. They didn't even know where to start. They just knew they wanted to remodel. So then they contacted me and said, would you be interested? And I was like, sure. And that's when I pulled in Christina, and we kind of tag teamed the project together, and it's just kind of taken off from there.
Wow. Okay. So tell me this, Liz, when you met Christina, did you know right away, like, okay, this girl has something special. I know I want to work with her. How did that kind of connect for you, Christina?
So pretty funny, but we have very similar stories, but in different ways. So I grew up in South Texas, and my dad owned a contracting company. And so very early on, I think I was used as free labor, and I was helping my dad to select colors, tile, backsplash and help design his homes. Of course, he was a drafter, so he did the drawings, but I would help him with the selections. And then as his business started to grow, he asked me to help just basically put the houses together. So furnish the homes, pick out the different colors and designs and things. So I got to practice basically on a lot of spec homes for my dad. And what he found is that they sold faster when I did that. So he had me continuing to do that throughout high school. So I always had a love for design and creating. And I think that's what draws Liz and I together. So Liz and I, so fast forward, 10 years or so, in 2010, a friend of mine asked me, she came over to my home and she said, I really like your home. I wish I could do that to my home. And she said, would you let me pay you to help me design my home? And I, of course said, no, you don't have to pay me. I love doing this. Let me do this for free. And she said, absolutely not. And so she decided that she was going to pay me, and I remodeled her home. And from that one job, it started to people started to see her house and ask, if I would do the same for them. And it started to grow in that way. And then it even grew into some commercial properties. I did Roth Financial in Kingwood, Texas. They asked me to design their office building. And then from that, I also designed an office building in Cyprus called MediSouth. So it just started to grow. And I would often describe what things would look like once it was complete, but people really had to envision it themselves. Okay, so I would describe what I wanted it to look like, the colors, the shapes, the textiles, all of those things, but they really had to have a vision of what it might look like, and they had to trust me on the outcome of the project. So Liz and I were neighbors, and we shared a similar interest in creating and making things beautiful. So we, of course, we both love HGTV. We both love decorating. I think our first time meeting, I was literally stripping down a table and painting the table and redoing it. And that's how we became friends. We were neighbors and then friends. And that's how we met, through love of just remodeling and making things beautiful. And so when Liz started to design and put her projects on paper, I was kind of in awe of that. I'm like, man, the vision is there. It's on paper and people can see it before it's complete, which is the part that I was missing. So I was able to design and choose and select, and people were trusting me in making sure that it was going to be beautiful at the end. But with Liz, we were able to put it on paper and show it to them in a 3D rendering, basically, before they started the project, which was really great, because then we had both things and they didn't have to envision anything. It was right there on paper. We could walk them through it. We could even make changes to it if they didn't like something right then and there. So together we started to do these projects and basically pour our hearts and souls into some of the things that we were doing for people. And we were able to it was a hobby, but we were able to put our passions on paper. And that really makes a difference when you're working with people, them being able to see what it is that you can do or what they can do with their homes.
I am floored by just the courage to do what you're doing. I'm sorry, somebody was going to say something. I think what?
Well, I was just going to say, Christina has a really good eye for design, and I've always known that before we even got into this. So I would bug her all the time, and I would send her pictures for my own house and be like, hey, does this look okay? What color would you recommend? And so she was the first person I thought of. That's something that I'm not as strong in. So I knew that going into a project, I would need somebody to back me up to be able to do it well.
Right.
So she was obviously the obvious first choice for me.
It's definitely a yin and a yang, because although I can see the colors, I can see the styles, I can envision what it could be. And I think Liz has that same talent where she can walk in a room and envision what it could be. The things that she does that I don't do well is she can literally create something out of minimal space. So function wise, she's very creative when it comes to cabinetry and making sure that there is no space left unturned. We're going to create the storage that's necessary. So I think together we create a pretty dynamic team that can really think about every single facet of a design project.
Renee,
Yeah.
you should see the first time I took them to a house.
Yeah.
So I have been doing this for quite a while, right? So, and I found them because my neighbor had her kitchen done. And so 4th of July, we're over there at her house because my kid and her kid love each other. And she's like, you need to come see my remodel. And I said, yes, I would love to see your house. And so I go in and she's telling me about this kitchen and what they've done. And I was floored. And I was just like, oh my, can I please get these people? So then of course she gave me their number. I contacted them right away. And I had a home that we were in the middle of a remodel. We had just bought it. We're going to remodel the kitchen. And the kitchen, it has this laundry room right off the kitchen. And then it has this weird pantry. And I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to try them out. Let's see how they do. When I went in that house with these two, I mean, I loved just watching them bounce back and forth off of each other and their ideas that come in. And then I hired them to help me. A friend of mine wants his kitchen remodeled. He's like, this is a challenging house. It's tiny. They've been thinking about this for 15 years and what they would do to this kitchen. Wow. And they walked into his kitchen and they brought in ideas that he'd never thought of. And he was like, my mind is blown away. Mm-hmm. So, and every time I go with him, I'm just like, this is so much fun. I love it. And even his bathroom was the tiniest little bathroom I'd ever seen. And he's like, good luck with this one. Good luck with my house. He kept saying that. So they walk into that bathroom and I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, I have no idea what I would do with this space. Like there is no space. And so I watched the two of them and I watched them walk in. I watched them look around. I watched Christina come around to the outside into the bedroom. And she's like, so what if he did a door right here from the bedroom into like move a door? And she's like, this closet, there's just closet behind here. And so then she said, and then Liz is like, okay, yeah. Then we could move this over here. And then Liz is like already measuring out the space and the vanity here. And you could move the sinks here. I mean, it's just dynamic. And it's hard to find partnerships right away. And so I'm so impressed that you did that you found this thing that merged and aligned so well. I'm just like so impressed with the two of you. And you're, watch out. We're going to be on HGTV. Like they're just amazing. Like they just make me excited inside. I was just like, now I have the full package. Like I've been doing this a long time. I have the workers. I never wanted to be on TV, but I'm like, wow, with these two, we could totally do that.
Yeah, you're ready now, right, Camille?
We could totally do it. We could totally do it. Like you can feel the energy coming off of me right now, right? Yeah. And I think they thought I was crazy when I first met them. So it's like, I already knew that they were going to be good, but man, when I saw them, and then she brings her computer and you can see, and it really is like those TV shows where the picture comes up off the screen and she can rotate it and you can see all these dimensions, and it's just so amazing. So amazing.
Okay. So like for those of us who love real estate design, real estate investing, we're just like nerding out on all of this because I'm totally there. I'm totally there. I totally understand what you're saying. Super excited about it.
Yeah.
So do you guys use a specific type of software that you're using? And you don't necessarily have to share the brand if you don't want to share it. But is it something that requires licensing, certification? Like what level of expertise do you need to use the software?
So I use Chief Architect, and you can buy a residential version, that's what I started with. And then once I started to get projects, I started the process to get the professional version. So over a period of time, I got my license for the product, and it's just self-taught. I don't have to have a specific license outside of that other than paying for it. You just kind of have to teach yourself how to do it. I learned on YouTube. I learned by reading their blogs and kind of just playing around with it. I can't even tell you how many hours I've spent on that program. It's a lot. But I think, every time I do a project, I learn something new.
And she really does have a natural talent to just like the kitchen that I was doing. She's like, you know what? You could take out this pantry because pantries aren't really very functional and they don't really give you that much space. And she's like, and you can create your custom cabinet here and you can move your fridge here and you can move this up around here. And she just really like spatial knowledge. And then she goes and measures it out with this laser. I was so impressed. And she's like, how is this corner working over here? And she looked underneath and the corner had like, because she was like, this shouldn't be working dimensionally, like with the size and how the measurements were. I was like, whoa, how do you even tell that? So she looks under the cabinet and it's like this corner niche. It's a weird cutout corner thing. And she's like, oh, that's how they did that. You know, and I was like, really? Like, I wouldn't even have known. It's so crazy.
To look for
So
that.
she's great. She's great at it and she loves it. And
Yeah.
then Christina with she's just picking, and she knows how to do it economically too. Because she ended up, I would always just go to Lowe's or Home Depot to buy my stuff. And she's like, hey, you know, she found all these links on Amazon and she's sending me the lights and the cabinet pulls, the handles for the cabinets. And I was like, whoa. And they're actually affordable. It's actually probably more affordable than if I went to Home Depot or Lowe's. And I was able to just ship it directly to my contractor. And he was able to go and just install the items and they look great. I don't have to think about it. Like we will spend so much time trying to design these homes and I'll bring all these different contractors in and say, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And I get all these ideas from different people. There is so much process that goes into this. And these two take out that work. I would say that's one of the hardest parts. Mm-hmm. And then they take out that work for you. And then you go in there and then the workers are like, oh, I don't even want to do my job anymore without these two, because the workers find it so much easier for them knowing what cabinets to order and what size and not getting into a project and then like, oh, whoops, this doesn't actually work what we thought was going to work because this window is actually a little too big, and they already figure all that out before they get into it. So it's just amazing. Amazing.
I want to talk a little bit about cost savings, because sometimes when we hear things like this, real estate investors try to be frugal, and we try to save money and cut corners where we can. And what I mean by that is that we will often try to skimp on different things, thinking that it's going to save us money in the end. So can you guys hear me okay? Mm-hmm. Good. Yes. Okay. So what I'm thinking though is that you're actually saving people money, because when you come in with something so specific, now I don't have to worry about waste because I tried to pick the cabinets, or I tried to make sure that the counters fit, or I tried to make sure that the window like the sill of the window comes up under the cabinet and there's enough space between the backsplash and the sink. And like, why am I trying to figure that out? I should be out looking for my next deal.
Right.
Yes,
exactly.
So, and when I do it and I do it wrong, I've lost labor time. I've lost materials. Like I've wasted money when I could have just paid someone who is an expert to come in and like design this for me. So in essence, I'm really not saving any money. I'm losing money because I'm not using an expert to help me. So can you guys kind of speak to that? Like, have you seen that where you've been able to save people or help them?
Absolutely. We've been able to save people. Time is valuable. And you're absolutely right. When you should be out there looking for your next deal, not wondering if what you chose as a cabinet size is the correct cabinet size, or if you're going to have a change order midway through your deal. So time is money when it comes to you doing what you do, or flipping, or trying to renovate these homes. So we have seen that we can save a client a lot of time with making sure that all of these things are correct and making the changes that need to be made prior to starting. So you will have less change orders. You will have those things taken care of in advance. Not only that, but Liz has gone in mid-project and saved the client time with working with a contractor herself. So talking the contractor through the project, making sure that the cabinetry is correct, making sure that the dimensions are right, catching those mistakes before they happen is something that we have done. And it works out very well where, like you said, we've had contractors say, Liz, will you please come and take a look at this before I move forward, so that they don't make those mistakes. So it works out for them, and it works out for the client as well.
And, I think Camille's project was the first one we actually really had to be really budget conscious for. So it was a challenge for us. But, we ask clients before we start every project kind of what your budget is. I mean, we're not going to give them a number, but that at least helps us get an idea of, okay, how much design can we put into this? Do we have to try to reuse cabinets? Can we start over? So like in Camille's situation, we're like, all right, we need to try to reuse as much as possible, but try to add some design to it. So it was fun to try to come up with, but I think, we ultimately gave her some ideas, and I think that kind of helped her work it through and see if it was going to fit her budget and save her time, so she didn't have to think about it and she could work on other things at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I've done it enough that it was like not even just save me time. It was emotional energy. It was mental energy. I could just go click the links and buy things. I mean, it was like, and even my contractors are like, I don't even want to work without these two anymore, because it saves them time and it saves them energy, and they're not getting a bunch of people out there trying to give them bids. And then if you have to change in the middle of something, you've already put money in and you've already have time in, it costs you more money. So what you're saving by paying these two, and honestly, they should be more expensive actually, but we'll get there too. But they're really not. They're amazing. It really is.
And the other thing that you mentioned, the contractors, so they're really busy too, and they're hard to get on site. So we can come in and do initial meeting with clients and come up with a preliminary design, and then send it to them in a PDF, and then they can bid it without even coming to the house. Yes. So it kind of saves their time too, and you're able to kind of, crank out more bids on and more projects.
Because a lot of these contractors have to schedule a whole day just to go see projects, because it takes so much time going through with the homeowner and what they want. But if they can have these two go in and do that part of it, that saves them like 2 days a week, or like a whole full days of working days, and then they can just get their guys on site and just move quicker. It's just so much faster. And then the time that they take to measure everything and have it all exact. And the contractors don't, normally they'll go in with their little tape measure and they'll measure, okay, the cabinets are this, and they'll kind of draw it out on their notebook. But these are exact dimensional drawings. Like they're not error, like they don't have to come back and be like, oops, I didn't get enough tile, and now that tile is out of stock, and now what are we going to do? Now we've got this right-hand side next to the fridge that doesn't have any tile that matches, and now we've got to figure out something else. All of that stuff, it just takes out so much headache.
Camille, you sound like you've done this before.
Oh yeah, right. right. Because I like doing the remodels, but honestly, I love finding the deals so much more. And if I can streamline this process of the remodel side and the contractor side, that side flips are intensive, and they're like the hardest part of the business. And everybody wants to do flips, and I'm like, you do not want to do flips. Like flips are like the most stressful thing you can ever do. You've got all this money out there, and then you don't know, like now the market, I've got two right now that we're going to list. We listed one just actually Monday. We're going to list another one hopefully Friday. And now the market's dropping and it's slowing down. And here I am stuck in these $300,000-$400,000 homes, which are now not selling as quickly. I mean, so there's just so much that can go wrong, and so much that can change in the middle of everything, that I'm like, just stick with my subject twos and my rentals and like, but no, if you can get the process and these women in here to help and these great workers, like just that, it's been years of trying to streamline that process. And they are like the full package. I love it. It's so amazing.
Yeah. So Christina and Liz, can you tell me a little bit about the challenges that you're having and the kind of work that you're doing right now?
So we have had a lot of challenges. One of them is to get people to understand the value of our work. I think trying to explain what we do and how it would be beneficial to them has been a bit of a challenge. It's kind of one of those things that, well, you'll see, or, word of mouth is the best way for people to understand. But when we try to explain it ourselves, I think it's been hard for us to get that message across. Also, we have learned to manage our time a little bit better. You know, Liz working through the project and us working together has been, we've learned along the way. I think Liz said it best earlier when she said we've learned something from every project. So being efficient with our time and being efficient with our designs is something that has been a challenge because we love it so much. So if we, you know, we were spending days and days and days working on something because we wanted to make it perfect and we wanted to make it as absolute, you know, best as we possibly could. And we've had to learn to manage our time a little bit more efficiently and make it really good and provide them with a project and just finish it up and get it done so that they can see it versus tweaking it and thinking about it over and over and recreating it over and over again. So that's been something that we've learned along the way.
Yeah. So Liz, do you want to add anything to that as far as the challenges that you've seen?
Sure. Yeah, we have a long list of stuff we've kind of worked through. One thing that we started to do was work remotely with clients. So we had one client that was in California and bought a house here in Kingwood, and she couldn't be here. So we basically assumed the role of contact between, you know, we had to find our contractor, then we had to kind of work one-on-one with him for the quote, get the design together, go to the house and measure and kind of be the eyes for her. And we basically took that project from start all the way to staging. So we did the design, we worked with the contractor, we followed the project, and then helped do all of the selections. We basically picked all of them, sent her a Word document with all the links. She bought everything. And then Christina came in and staged at the end. So kind of learning how to do that. And, you know, we got very familiar with Zoom and kind of realized how effective that was for us, where, you know, it saved us time and I could go in and show everybody my screen. So you could kind of see the live view, which you can't really see the complete design in pictures. So it's better to kind of see the whole thing. So we learned that. Another project we're currently doing in Florida right now. My father-in-law's neighbor heard about kind of what we did and was interested because she wanted to redo her whole condo. So I happened to be there on vacation and I met her and kind of met with her and showed her what I did. And she was super impressed. So she's like, yeah, let's do it. So Christina and I've been designing her whole condo from Texas. And I'm about to send her design package over, and then she's going to take it and go use it to hire contractors. So we're kind of learning and evolving, trying to figure out how best to work when we're not together. So that's a big one.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. I mean, who would do that? I mean, there's no one out there that would do that. It's amazing. I just love it.
So the thing that worked out with the Florida one is I happened to be there to take all the dimensions. So that's the only thing that we'd have to kind of work out, but it'd be really cool. You know, we can work remotely as long as we have all that data.
Yeah. And these challenges keep coming, but instead of saying, no, we can't do that, we think about it and we're like, well, we can adapt, we can do that, we can change, we can add that to our list of things. And which, you know, it just continues with every project to grow. And so we've overcome, I think, pretty much every challenge that's come our way. We've figured it out. That's just kind of what we do. We figure it out throughout the process.
One other big thing that we're learning how to do is kind of balancing our customer service with kind of what we know is right for the design. And then, I mean, you can kind of take that a bunch of different ways, but, you know, the placement of things, colors, you know, how big things are, and kind of pushing people and when to push people out of their comfort zones is, I mean, it's client dependent. So we're kind of learning when to do it and when to not do it.
Gotcha.
Okay, and sometimes we just have to show them, you know, funny story, Camille, when we were working with your neighbor, she was very specific one time when she said, you know, I do not want the cabinets to go all the way to the ceiling. And Liz and I kind of shook our heads and we said, okay. And then once we got to work on the project, we tried what she wanted and we were like, this could look a lot better if we do it in a different way. So we both kind of thought like, well, let's just show it to her. The worst that can happen is that she hates it and we put it back to what she wanted. But we had to push her out of her comfort zone. And although we wanted to respect her wishes and make sure that she had everything she wanted, we wanted to show her those things, but also push her out of her comfort zone and elevate it a little bit more. and she ended up loving it. I think her reaction was probably the best reaction we've ever had from a client. So we made those changes because we thought it looked a lot better, and we really felt like it was right for the project. And when we showed her, I remember we were upstairs in Liz's game room, and we were kind of nervous to show her because we kind of, we did something a little bit different with the cabinetry. So we sat there, we gave her a glass of wine, and we showed her the project, hoping that she would be okay with it. And she saw it and she got chills and she started crying. And to us, that was like, yes, home run. We were so excited that we had done what we did and showed her something. She just was in awe and said she would have never thought of doing some of the things that we did, which was for us felt like a home run, because we did what she wanted, but we also pushed her in a way that made her love it even more. And I think that was really fun. And so we're trying to balance the customer service, but we also want to make sure that we're doing what's best for the space and letting them know that there's more that out there.
I think she did tell me that, actually, now that you say that, she was like, yeah, I didn't want this to go all the way up to the ceiling, and I didn't want them to go all the, so I guess you extended them all the way down to her back door. But these cabinets are beautiful. And then I guess her pantry, you ended up extending her pantry out and then encasing like her fridge, and then it's like this amazing walk-in like shelves all done. And then she was blown away, and I am too. I'm so totally blown away with you guys. And I think I see your challenge with homeowners in general is because they don't deal with this every day. They've never done this before. People get into construction projects and they think it's supposed to go like perfectly. It never goes perfectly. Construction is like the most unpredictable thing that ever happens. And these homeowners have no idea of the work and the things that change and how you're actually creating so much value for them and how much of a headache it is. They don't understand that, right? And then they don't see the vision after. People don't have that gift to go in there. You two do. But people don't have a gift to go in there and say, this is what it's going to look like when it's done. And no one does that. Like you're saying, Liz could not find anybody that does that. So it's just, I don't know. I'm so excited about this. If you can't tell, I'm so excited about this.
So have you guys had nightmare client, like any nightmare stories to tell? Do you have one that you can share? Because business is like this, like everything's not like kittens and rainbows. Or puppies and unicorns, it's ugly sometimes. So have you had any, no names, but any nightmare stories to report?
You want to?
People love the horror stories too. I mean,
yes.
There's always these perfect stories and all that, but really people want to hear the bad stuff too.
Because it happens to all of us. And then it can be very discouraging. So when bad things happen and we haven't heard that bad things happen to other people, then we feel like, okay, it's just me. But no, that's part of the business journey. The entrepreneurial journey is you're going to have nightmare contractors, you're going to have nightmare clients, you're going to have nightmare properties, you're going to have nightmare projects that you just wanted. Oh my God, I just want this one over.
Yeah. And just recently, someone wanted me to talk about the worst deal that had ever happened to me, where I lost $100,000 on a flip. And people loved that more. Not that they loved that I failed, but they loved that I failed and I was still successful later.
Yeah.
That I continued to do it. And so I think people liked that more than my success stories. And I was kind of surprised. I'm like, whoa, like people, because then they related to it.
Yeah, because they can relate to it. Because we all have failures and we have to pick ourselves up and keep going. So with that said, do you guys have anything that you can share? No names.
No names, but yes, we have a few things, it doesn't work out 100% perfect every time. There's definitely a lot of factors involved when we're doing these remodels. And there's a lot of decisions to be made. Most recently, we had a client who we designed the project. We showed it to her. She absolutely loved it. Everything was great. Another issue was and this has happened a couple of times where we create a project. And Liz is very specific with dimensions, and we work really hard to make sure that everything is right before we hand over a design to a client. And sometimes clients like to make changes midway with the contractor.
I'd say probably more than off. Yeah, because you get in there and you pull out a wall and you're like, oh, this looks way different than I thought it would. And I'm sure they change more than
absolutely. And then when those changes start to happen, the first thing that happens is they'll call us and say, this doesn't look right. You know, these things don't measure up, or, you know, this countertop looks horrible. And then we'll recognize that they've made some they've altered the design in itself and run into problems. But it's kind of like, if you would have stuck to the project and stuck to the actual design, it would have worked out just fine. But when they start making those changes, sometimes things don't work out the way they want them to.
It kind of reminds me of the first home that we remodeled. We picked paint for the outside, and we had them paint luckily it wasn't the whole outside, but we went to the house and both me and Kyle looked at each other and we thought, oh no, that is horrible. And it's because it looks different in the store, or and it definitely looked different on the outside of the house than it did when on the paint swatch, right? On the paint swatch, it's like, looked great. And we put it up to the house, and no, when we got it on the wall and the lighting outside, and we were like, so we had to repaint the whole thing. But you know, that happens, and people don't realize that. They don't realize if you get a clear tile from a backsplash and you have a gray countertop, because we've done this on a house, the clear tile looked like gray when we put it on as a backsplash. And we thought we did not want a gray backsplash, but because it's reflecting off of the gray countertop, right? So, I mean, there's stuff like that happens that you can't, no matter how much you try, you're not going to be able to change.
I'll tell you, my worst nightmare is always grout. I can't tell you how many times we've had a grout issue. If people would just let me select the grout for them, because I think we've made all the wrong choices, so we know how to make the right choice. But I'll tell you, grout is just never right. It's just never right. So whenever people,
by the time it dries,
it's
a different color.
I can't tell you how many times it has been an issue. It's been an issue in my own home. So, you know, remodeling my own home, I let my husband make a decision, and I should not have, you know, but I was trying to, you know, spread the wealth with the decision making. But the grout color is just always an issue with clients. So I make sure to stress, like, I help with selections, like, please let me help you choose the grout color. Because if not, it will not be right. And then we'll get a phone call saying it looks horrible, it's the wrong color.
And then it's a very expensive change.
Very, very expensive change.
We've learned that messy, because grout is like, to remove the grout. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah. It's a nightmare.
Just to add on kind of what we're talking about right now, I think, you know, another instant or challenge, I guess, we've had is how to manage indecisiveness, because you know, we can show a client a design and then love it, and then a couple of days later come back and say, I don't like any of this, we need to redo it. And have that happen pretty much throughout the entire project was very challenging to work with.
Yeah, and I'd imagine for real estate investors that would be super expensive as well. Change orders cost money. Every time you change something, you're costing, you know, you're putting more money into the project that you could have in your pocket. So you really need to limit your change orders.
And I realize, you know, we realize as designers, you know, they're hiring us because they don't know and they're looking for help. But at some point, I don't know if it's something that we can help them with, but they just have to learn to kind of trust our decision and recommendation to help.
Yeah,
and I think Liz and I have to work together sometimes to help convince the client that what we're putting out there is probably the best for them. And so sometimes we've come to a client and just said, look, I understand you want this wall here, but let me tell you why you shouldn't do that. And we have to explain it to them, you know, and we hate to disagree or to do something out of, you know, what they wanted out of their scope. But sometimes we know it's what's best for the project, and we just have to relay that message across to clients. And although it's been a challenge, I think we're getting better at it. at being able to say, I definitely understand that you want this wall gone, but let me tell you why you need to keep this wall here because of, XYZ. So there's definitely learning that has happened on our part on how to talk to the clients and let them know that we understand that they want these specific things, but what we're putting out there is something that we've thought through, and it's what's best for the project and probably would give them the best return for their money.
Yeah. Let's talk on a practical level about working with real estate investors specifically, because that is pretty much who our audience. It's not necessarily homeowners as much as it is business owners or real estate investors. What's the best way for an investor to engage with a designer? Let's say if they're not in Houston, but they're, listening to this episode and they're like, okay, I could really, I'm gleaning something from this. I could really use the help of a designer to kind of take me out of that and to get more specific dimensions, save some money. What should a real estate investor be looking for when they hire a designer like you two?
I think what they should be looking for is somebody that is willing to listen and to build a relationship with that client in order to get the best product at the very end and the best return for their money. So that's to me, that's probably the most important part is, like, for example, when Camille came to us, she had a project and some of her needs were different than some of the clients that we had had in the past. So Camille was looking to make something beautiful, yet save money and make sure that she, and also save time. And so we had to kind of listen to what she needed and make some adjustments to what we did. So we came up with some solutions such as, Camille, let's share a document and I'm gonna give you links to all of the things that you'll need to purchase for your home so you can do that quickly and efficiently. Also, making sure that the dimensions that we were creating and the shapes that we were creating in the kitchen was something that was affordable, which is not always what clients want, so everybody has different needs, but we have to listen to their needs and do what's best for them and help them be successful with their flips.
Yeah. On the investor side, the cool thing is I didn't know that they would even work with investors, because homeowners is a whole different game, right? And a couple of the contractors they had work directly with those homeowners, and it's about making their home beautiful and over the top beautiful, where I need to make my home beautiful, but not over the top beautiful. Like, it just needs to sell and it needs to look nice. And they were great at doing that. I think Christina, with her experience with her father and doing flips, I think she really had that side. And I was really impressed that they could do that. As the investor coming in, I loved also that they had 3 different levels. They said, okay, here's a base level. Here's going to be you. This is going to be your cheap option. Then they had another level and they said, okay, this level is going to be a little more expensive, but here's your option. And then here's the top level. And they gave me the top one. So then I can go in and say, you know what, putting this $10,000 in is actually going to help me, or putting this $15,000 in I could balance that and say, is this going to change the sales price of my home? And is this going to still sell? Am I going to put this in and it's going to still sell? And so it was really, I was impressed. I was impressed that they could work with investors and also work with these homeowners. And they're great at being flexible and changing contractors and I'm working with different clientele like that. I think that would be a challenge, definitely. And they're great at modifying that. Also, Christina speaks Spanish. That's a huge bonus in Texas and working with contractors. That is amazing. Amazing.
Absolutely. That is all really good. So that's good to know as an investor, that I can have that level of service from a designer. Liz, do you consider yourself an interior designer, or are you more of like a architectural design specialist? Like, what are your titles?
That's a good question. I've been trying to figure that out. It's kind of evolving as we go. I guess I would call myself a house designer. But I mean, Christina and I do tag team on, design elements and colors sometimes, but I say what I'm best at is doing the floor plans and space planning and coming up with cabinet design. So that's more kind of the house designer / kitchen designer route. Like I'm not an official licensed one, but I am kind of training with the kitchen designer that worked with me on my house. I'm training with her, and eventually I want to get certified to be a national kitchen and bath designer, so I can have that title. So I would kind of go more that route for me.
And the engineer architectural background that she has, her
Yeah.
mind is definitely
Yeah.
measurements and shapes and putting shapes together. You have to have both. You
Right.
have to have both. Like
The funny thing about that is when Christina and I are designing, I'll be like, okay, how big do you want something? And she'll show me, put her hands up, like, I want this big. And I'll look at it like, okay, 12 inches. So it's like where our minds work completely different, but mesh very well.
Yes, I'll tell Liz, I'll say something like, I need hardware to be about 25 inches. And she'll be like, okay, that's about 8 inches. Let's draw that in. And then from here to here is what I need. And she's able to censor, she understands me and translates it, and she puts it into the design. Or I'll say, I need this nightstand to be this high. And she'll look at it and say, okay, I gotcha. And she'll draw it in.
Yeah. That's fantastic that you're able to work together in that way, that this partnership is really humming along. Do you both, can we talk about like outside of work? Do you spend time together? Are you best friends in addition to working, or is this just a business partnership? Do your families hang out? Like how does the non-business relationship
Because
work?
ladies, this is the hardest thing to do, to find a team that you just did, like generically in a way. Like it doesn't happen. We'll just tell you that it doesn't happen. So
Right.
like explain that side.
So that's a fun thing to talk about. That's a fun topic because we don't really reflect on that a whole lot. Liz and I used to be neighbors. And so prior to that, we did not know each other at all. So when we became neighbors, gosh, when did we become neighbors, Liz?
2013.
2013. Yeah, about 2013. Liz and I became neighbors, and we started a friendship again based on like, hey, will you share that chalk paint recipe with me? And I'm like, absolutely, I'll share that with you. And then, sharing projects that we were working on in our own homes, we became friends. Our husbands are very good friends, and they hang out together. Our children, I love Liz's children, and we spend a lot of time together. She spent a lot of time with my children as well. So as far as our friendship outside of this job, I think we're getting together on Saturday for a pool party. Our kids know each other well. Our husbands get along well. We spend a lot of time outside of our job. It's like when we get to work together, it's business. But when we are not doing business, we definitely spend a lot of time together. We have girls' nights. We're constantly trying to balance the work hard, play hard situation.
Gotcha.
Right. We had, I have my best friend from college here in the neighborhood, and Christina has 2 friends from college here. And like Christina, I connected, and then we kind of brought the entire group together. So there's, I don't know now, like 8 or 10 couples, and everybody hangs out all the time. And like all of the girls annually go on a girls trip somewhere. And we just, like this year we went to Nashville. So we're all pretty close.
Yay, party.
I know, that is awesome that you guys have that in your relationship. That is so wonderful. So how are you balancing like family and work? It sounds like it's working out, that you're able to put work aside and actually have like a work-life balance. Is that actually happening?
Yes, I would say we're doing pretty good. We definitely sometimes, like I said, struggle to put down the design work and focus on other things, because I think it's because we're so passionate about it and we're thinking about it all the time. It is a struggle. We're flexible with each other. Sometimes our kids get sick and we can't get together, and that's okay. Sometimes we have things that we have to do, a baseball game or a soccer game. And so we work around that. We don't set very strict timelines for specific things, because we know that life happens and we're both moms, and being a mother comes first for both of us, and that's important to us. So we work around it. We
And
do what we can.
Christina also, she still has a full-time job as a speech pathologist for the schools.
Wait,
And
what?
I
Wait.
know, right? So we need to help. Well, not we need to help. That's me. I do that. I try to like help everybody. But she would love to transition out of that at some point and have this be full-time, which I think totally will happen.
Yeah,
Yes.
let's talk about the future of the business. So where are you all going from here? What's the plan?
So Camille is right. I do have a full-time job. I am a speech language pathologist by trade, and I manage a staff of 75 speech language pathologists in the Humble ISD area.
Talk about burying the lead. Oh my gosh. This is the end of the episode. You're just now telling us you work full time.
So when I say flexibility, there's a lot of flexibility, right? So yes, that's definitely my profession. I've worked hard in that profession to get to where I am. But quite honestly, although I didn't go to school for interior design, that is my love. That's my passion.
That's what fills you. I love it.
Fills my bucket for sure.
And Liz, it fills Liz too. She's
and
like,
it
I will
fills
stay up
Liz's
all
bucket for
night
sure.
doing this. And she's like, and I gotta stop doing it.
I do. So my husband, like, I mean, I have stayed up very late doing design projects, and I keep telling myself, I'll look at the clock, like, okay, just 5 more minutes. And then 30 minutes passes. And then all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, got to go to bed. I got to get up at 6 o'clock with the kids. So, my husband is like, okay, you got to go to bed. So I'm learning to balance. It's very, very hard for me to stop. And it's a very interesting place to be for me because, I had a 9 to 5 up until 2020. And then I stopped working just because it was getting to be too much. And I didn't feel that way.
A corporate job, right? With a
Right.
huge company.
Yeah, I was a mechanical engineer at an oil company, and I never felt like that about work. I did my job, and then when 4 o'clock rolled around, I was like, all right, it's time to go. I'm done. But now there are no stopping hours. I will work whenever, a lot of times, like sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and have an idea of like, I got to go work right now. I got to go see how this is going to work out. And then I'll be on my computer all day long until I finish it. So it's just it's fun. It's a very fun place to be, but it's also a challenge for me to try to balance paying attention to my family and my kids at the same time.
Yeah. So Christina, moving forward, are you all planning to grow the business or where are you going next?
So we were just talking the other day about our future plans and our goals for us as a business. And I would love to be able to support my family doing something that I love. So that's always been a dream of mine. I never really thought that it could be reality, but here lately it's like maybe we can make this happen. Maybe this is something that I could do full time and also support my family at the same time. So as a company, I think our goals are to expand. We want to continue to grow our clientele. Right now we're working mainly in the Houston area, but who knows, maybe we can expand past Houston and other cities in Texas and other states. We've started a few projects outside of Texas. So we would love to continue to grow. There's no boundaries as to what we can do. Liz and I think are big dreamers. And our dream is to, the sky's the limit. Let's just keep moving forward and see where this takes us is kind of the way that we're moving forward with this is just there's no boundaries. Let's just go and see what happens.
And just so you know for the future, because as you grow, because I've been there, I'm still growing. You'll just as you get these systems and processes in place underneath you, like the good big bookkeeper, the person that can maybe start helping you measure the houses for you, because that takes a lot of time. Renee is really, really good at hiring people. She's really, really good at getting that communication and that structure in place underneath you. So also in the future, if you want that, she can totally help you do that.
Yeah, you were reading my mind, Camille, because I was just about to ask, so have you brought on any help? Do you have any assistants in your business yet? Because that's really where you level up.
Right. Yes. And during our future conversation, we talked about some aspects of it, kind of like Camille mentioned, the dimensions take a long time. Like if we're going to do a whole house, we could be there all day because you're measuring so many things. You're measuring the doors, the windows, all the walls, kind of where everything is located, and it just takes time. So that piece would be great to have help with. The design part of it, that will always be us. I don't think we would ever let that go.
I think you need to. That's your genius, right?
Right.
That's what
So
you're
like
good at. Yes.
our favorite part of the process is doing that design and then, having our Zoom meetings and showing everybody the design. Like that's
Yeah.
what we love, and then after that we do our design package, like the PDF, which has, the floor plan, everything's dimensioned, the wall elevations and all that. It would be nice to have help with that because that also takes a lot of time that we could be using to kind of work on other designs at the same time. So I think long term, I would have to train somebody to help me with it, but I think long term, I would love to have that.
Yeah. Add that to your wish list. So as you're making your business plan for future hires, put those roles in so that when you're ready to start, expanding your business, or if you get too busy, you already have an idea of, okay, here's a job description for the next role that we need to hire, or for the first role that we need to hire. And as you start scaling and growing your business, it's easier to do if you already have those descriptions kind of written out, and then you know where you're going. It kind of gives you a map of where to get to, like what to get off of your plate so that you can take on, bigger projects, because now you've got somebody else doing some of the, in the weeds, like detail stuff. That's not the best use of your time. So kind of figure out, if you guys were to assign a dollar value, and let's say hypothetically your time is worth $200 an hour, then you should not be doing $20 an hour work. Somebody else should be doing that. So that's just the way that you kind of want to think of it. And then you can do more $200 an hour work and grow your business that way.
And I still am trying to figure that part out. And
yeah,
Renee,
Camille has a really hard time letting go of the $20 an hour.
Well, and she helped me hire some people, and she had it set up perfectly.
Yeah,
and then I went in and messed it up because I was trying to have them be team players, and she's like, no, they're employees, I messed it up. Like,
yeah, there's a way to structure things so that there's an org chart, and there has to be structure in your business. It can't be a flat line where everybody has the same autonomy or the same role as you. There has to be levels of management. And so that's very hard for Camille, because on the disc, I don't know if you guys do assessments, but if you do not, you should definitely check out the disc. You're shaking your head. Yes, Christina, you're familiar with the disc?
I do the disc survey with my team.
Yes. Okay. Well, Camille is a very high I. And so for her to be a high I, she's a true believer in people, in austerity and loving others. And so she puts everybody at the same level, which is so beautiful to do, but we can't run a business that way. There has to be a hierarchy.
I want to be treated like I am the most important person too. And so I want to treat them like they're the most important person too.
And they are within their role.
Yeah. So I have a hard time saying, okay, I'm not using your mind. I just want you to go do this, this, and this, and I don't want your input. I have a hard time saying that. But there are those tasks where there's the task where you want to have people's input and you want them to be level with you and you want to have that collaboration. But then there's also those tasks that's like, just do data entry for me. You don't have to think about this. This is the assignment. Go do it. And I have a hard time having those different levels because I'm like, I wouldn't feel fulfilled doing data entry, but some people are.
Some people do.
And people love it. Like, so I just need to back out of that. They don't want to be the growers and the idea people, and I need to let them have that role.
Yeah. And so that's another mindset. I know as you guys start to grow your business that you can get some coaching or find some help with that. Sometimes as women, we have a hard time hiring other people or allowing other people to work for us. We have some mindset issues around that. But having other people be gainfully employed in your business is super satisfying because you know that you're providing a living for someone else. Yes. So Liz and Christina, you guys look forward to that as you grow your business, and don't shy away from it. Definitely be looking to bring people on and hire them, even if it's part-time or contract, just like one-off, like for this project, we'll pay you to go out and take these measurements on this particular day for this. Like, it's not ongoing, it's just a one-time thing. And then have a set person that you send every time. And then, just kind of grow it that way. You can take baby steps, but definitely you guys have a bright future and you're going to have to bring on help. to keep.
I already can see it. I'm like,
I know, me too.
start hiring those people. Let's start getting the systems because you are
Yeah.
gonna blow up.
Which
Yeah.
is just crazy to even think about because, we started doing this because we love it and we just wanted to help people, and to kind of think that it's growing like this is just kind of mind-boggling to me.
That's a good thing. That's a good problem to have. Yay, you. That's good.
Yes.
Liz.
Yes.
To
Yes.
me,
All right.
the fact
So-
that people want to pay us to do what we like to do or what we
Isn't
love
that
to
weird?
do is
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it
You're like,
is.
what? Does this
And you're
really
really
happen?
good at it, and you have earned it, and you deserve it, and you should be paid what you're worth. I know we didn't talk about pay. I don't know how much you want to get into it, but before we go, I heard you mention, Cammy, that they offered you some tiers. So should we be looking for tiers or levels of pay if we're real estate investors and we want to bring in a designer? Pay wise, what are we looking at, ladies?
So,
I could answer a tiny bit. I'll
Yes.
you go ahead after me because okay, so anybody else that I had found was over $3,000 just for one drawing. These guys actually do consulting. These guys actually do like, let me manage the contractors for you. Let me do all this. And anyway, now I'll let you go.
that's what I was going to say. It's kind of like an a la carte at this point for us. We have an hourly, we ask for an hourly fee. And so the hourly fee goes towards the design itself, creating the design, Liz's work on the design project and making sure everything's right, the dimensioning and all of those things. We definitely give a quote for an hourly pay for our projects. And then on top of that, we offer additional services such as meeting with a contractor, having a contractor meeting, selections, staging. There's a lot of different levels of what we do. And so far, the way that we've managed that is by charging an hourly fee for our services.
And we try to give an estimate on, okay, this room is going to take us 4 hours. So it would cost X amount. And we try our best to kind of stay within that amount. We reference other projects that we've done of similar sizes to try to give a pretty accurate estimate. We break it down by room so that the client can kind of pick, okay, I only want to do this room because that's in my budget, or I want to do the whole thing and I want the design plan. I also want you to pick all my selections, and then we can give them an estimate. It's a new thing that we're gonna, I think, probably explore in our next project is kind of following it through the entire project. The client wanted an all-in price to basically do everything. So we're going to give them prices kind of for everything, give them an estimate. Like we think, okay, based on your project size, it's going to take about this long and I need X amount of hours to work. This is kind of what you could expect.
I'll tell you though, they're very economical, like very good price, better than anyone out there, and they provide a better product.
Gotcha.
And
well,
I don't know how long that will last.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully, by the time this airs, you ladies are definitely worth what you're charging. And don't be afraid of that. I'm not saying to overcharge people, but if you're charging a fair price for great work, then you should continue to do that. And as you level up or scale up your business, certainly as you gain those certifications and so forth in design or in that technology, then that has value. And I'm also speaking to our audience who's listening as well. Ladies, if you have a certification or if you have some sort of skill that is limited that everybody doesn't have, you should be paid for that. And don't be afraid of it. Sometimes we have imposter syndrome and we feel like, I love doing this, or who am I to charge for it? Again, mindset issues. So we've got to push past those and ask to be paid what we're worth. And you can find out in the industry, just industry-wide, comparing yourself to others with similar levels of education or similar certification or similar projects. What are they charging? And then price yourself accordingly or however you feel comfortable with. But don't lowball your prices because you're afraid of charging too much. Your audience will find you.
I think that's kind of the hardest thing for us, has been the hardest thing for us to kind of estimate, because we don't have the certifications, or like we didn't go to school for this. But, as we've kind of gone through this process, we've kind of realized, and, getting feedback from clients and other people, like, hey, we are pretty good at this. Like, we do deserve to be competing with people who have gone to school, have degrees for this. We're kind of at the same level. So I think now we're just getting to that point, like, yes, we can charge more and it's worth it. We
Good for you.
We have a certain value.
Yeah, let the project speak. If you have a history of doing projects and you have great testimonials from your clients, if you have not gotten video testimonials, get them. Preferably when you're in the process, like with your clients and you're working with them, you have a happy moment or a happy day with them, send them a link to send you a video testimonial. Some of them won't do a video, but they'll type it, like they'll write a testimonial or a review for you. So definitely get that. And that will go a long way with helping you to increase your pricing to a level that's fair for your skill level, regardless of the certifications. Because I know, as the listeners are, that some of us are changing careers. You know, we climb the ladder in our careers. We're now doing something different, and we should get paid for it. Should we pursue those certifications? Absolutely. Yes. I'm not saying not to pursue them. You should. But just because you don't have a degree in design does not mean that you should not be paid as a designer. Clearly, you have the skill level, the talent, and the projects to prove that you're worth the money. So just don't shy away from that.
Both of you at this point, I don't think need any more education. You have it in you naturally. And I've been doing it for 11 years, and you guys have it like you're there. It's like you've done it for 11 years, you know? And so you were like, your fees for me were like pennies compared to what the value that you gave.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was like, I'll include your fees and I'll go do the package deal and I'll go remodel people's homes for them because you're going to make the process so much easier. So
yeah.
And you're good. It's amazing.
Yes, and you're worth it. You're absolutely worth it. So I want to give people a way to contact you, to see your projects, to see all of the work that you are doing. CLDesigns of Houston. Is there a website or Instagram? Where should we find you, ladies?
You can find us on Instagram at CLDesigns of Houston. We don't have a website yet. It's something that we've been talking about putting together. But we also, I mean, quite honestly, we haven't spent a whole lot of time advertising. It's been word of mouth from
because they're so good.
But absolutely Instagram. And we also, I mean, we could give our cell phone numbers.
So is there a better way to reach you? Like on Instagram, do they DM you? Like, how do they connect with you on Instagram? DM?
They can DM us on Instagram.
Is there anything else that we missed, we didn't cover, or you all want to share before we go?
I don't think so.
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
I do want to say thank you for having us today. This has been very fun and interesting, and this is us stepping out of our comfort zone. So thank you for having us and being patient with us. We appreciate your time, and also very valuable advice moving forward with our business. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we're super excited for you guys.
This has been great.
That's all for this episode. Come back soon for more tools, resources, and great stories from successful women entrepreneurs. We believe you absolutely can build a business you love and have passive income. Until next time, thank you for listening.